You may begin the meeting, Mr. Chair.
All right. Good evening, everybody. It is 7:34 on Wednesday, March 11th, 2026. This is our regular Cultural Arts Commission meeting. I am Daniel B. Smith, the chair of the Cultural Arts Commission, and I will call this meeting to order with a roll call vote, starting with Marlo. Does not appear to be here. And then Tim.
Present.
And then Alicia.
Present.
And then Monique, who does not appear to have arrived, and Matthew.
Present.
All right, that gives us 4 of 7, which is a quorum. So we can approve things, starting with the minutes for the February 11th Cultural Arts Commission meeting. If anybody has any questions or concerns about those meeting minutes, now is the time to discuss them. If not, as always, I would look for a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
And thank you, Matthew, for seconding. I will now do a roll call vote to approve the meeting minutes for February 11th, 2026, starting with Tim.
Approve.
And then Alicia.
Approve.
And then Matthew.
Approve.
And I shall also approve them unanimously, approving the minutes from the February 11th, 2026 meeting. Up next, we have a section for public comment. We have not utilized in quite a while, but if anybody is interested in making public comment, feel free to shout or raise your hand or wave. Thumbs up, I guess, if you're on the internet. Hearing none.
We just make sure I don't see any hands up or anything. Nope.
All right, hearing none, we will move on to our agenda items because we do have a few of them. On the agenda, up first, we have discussing the mini grant applications. Because the second item is sort of going back and discussing the community arts grant results, I thought it would make sense to move that up to the first thing on the agenda, just so that we still have that in our memory when we're talking about that, because we do need to return to our decision or our recommendation on the community arts grants and discuss some snafus that arose or that Porter pointed out. So Porter, do you want to get into the details there as far as what sort of issues we need to address?
Yeah, so for the community arts grants, which you all scored at your last meeting, it was discovered that there was an error in that the TGT grant guidelines clearly articulate that those agencies that receive TGT funding cannot get a community arts grant. Unfortunately, and this is my bad, in the community arts grant guidelines, it wasn't as clear. The language was more ambiguous, which I apologize for. So 2 entities that applied cannot receive those grants. So I worked with both of them, and both of them agreed to withdraw their grant applications. So that brings us to here, and this is the updated version. Let me share this, bear with me a second. Oh my goodness. Sorry, the layering on this screen is hard to navigate. Why can't I move this? Okay, so let me shrink this down because I can't seem to move it easily. So the update is that there were 23 eligible community arts grant applications, which total $165,961 in requested grant funds. This year's budget is $67,000 for the community arts grants, which leaves a difference of $98,961. So it remains competitive, but the numbers have changed a little bit. With the current allocation based on last week's meeting, there's $12,673 available for reallocation. And for some reason, I can't. This is saying it's an unlicensed project. Hang on. goodness.
Well, he's not a robot. We know that much.
Sorry, everybody. It's forcing me to log in again for some reason, so bear with me here.
It's okay. We've been zooming through this meeting so far, so I think we've got we've got some time.
We can't possibly finish early.
Right?
Oh my goodness. Why? It's wanting me to make a new password.
I won't look.
This is crazy.
I will point out that Marlo is joining us, which is great. Welcome, Marlo.
Just in time.
Porter
We're
is
picking a new password.
he's strategically pretending to have tech problems to give you
Let
time
me-
to
let me-
get in
I'm
here.
going to
So-
stop sharing this for a second and see if I can't figure out what the heck is going on. This is nuts. Why can't I get to that?
Just so you're aware, Marlo, on the agenda, we had discussing the mini grants and then reviewing going back to talk about the community arts grants. And we've switched that, so we're going to discuss the community arts grants and whatever sort of modifications need to be made to our recommendation
Who
first.
dropped off?
I believe there were two that, of the applications that had also received
Do we know who they
TGT.
are?
Yes, and I think Porter will
Okay.
make the specific announcement.
Good. Good to see you. Edmund is doing the lighting for Legarda tonight.
Wow, that's great.
I know.
So you're having trouble sharing? Is that the?
Well, no, it won't let me. This is just a text box that I put here to read first, and
Oh,
I
but
need to
it-
move it,
it
and
kind
it
of
won't let me
blocks.
because it's telling me I can't access.
As silly as it is, could we continue discussing the things even with the giant
Yeah, I
giant
guess we
box in front?
can.
Doesn't seem like it's actually completely obscuring anything. We can.
Well, and we got it on paper, so we
Yeah.
can see what's behind it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that for transparency's sake, folks understand. But okay, I don't know what else to do, and I don't want to take more time. So
Fortunately, we
me
did
share
also
this again.
we did also share the rubric in our last meeting. So if there's anybody who sees this and is really
Well, and it
really
will
wants
be-
to know, they
it will
can.
be in the meeting minutes too.
Yeah.
So okay, so unfortunately, this is not. This is blocking this, but anyway, so at this point, the last grant recipient is Love Garden Sounds.
What do we want to do? Do we want to select another two to take those spots with the funding amount we previously decided, or where are we going?
Here's just a wild thought to throw out there. Since we've already decided that these ones are definitely worthy of it, but most of them didn't get their full ask, why don't we just start topping them up somehow? Whether that's either splitting them equally or going down the list. But I don't think we need to bring anybody new in there. I think we could just make the existing people happy.
I concur.
I'd be interested in at least entertaining the possibility of including two other applicants. And part of the reason I say that is because if you look at 10, who's our final recipient currently, Love Garden Sounds, and then you look at the one directly beneath that and the the total score added up, it's a difference of 3 points between those two, which to me does not seem like I feel like often in the past when we've had a hard cutoff, there's maybe like kind of a shelf, like a clear drop off in overall ranking. So I'd be interested. I mean, Marla, what do you think? And Alicia, who's online, do y'all have strong feelings about pursuing, increasing funding for the 10 on here versus elevating two others who aren't funded at all?
I see the logic for number 11 because it is pretty close to that 225, but then the next two,
Or way lower.
Those
there's
are
a
the
little
ones that
bit.
drop off.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't remember what they're all for. So adding new ones, my memory is gone. And so I'm not opposed to that. It's just I don't know what I'm saying. Oh, well, let's fund that because I don't remember anymore now.
I will say, and we can review the footage if we really want to, but I agree the 11, the one that is really close to our 10, and then there's a more sizable drop off between 11 and 12. I do think if my memory serves correctly, 12 and even 13, there was some discussion of those applications as far as the nature of the applications and whether it really aligned with what the goals.
That's what I was going to mention. At least 12, I remember that was a discussion. Yeah, both of those actually. So, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be against adding one and then splitting up the rest one way or another.
Alicia, do you have any thoughts?
Oh, there's me on the screen.
Hi. I agree with at least adding one more. Looking at the scoring, that 222 does seem like it's so close to 225. So I agree. I think it would make sense to at least let's support another project.
So that's kind of a hybrid, yeah. So not elevating one and then maybe taking the funds for the remaining 12th application and trying to bump up some of the totals. Maybe.
You could give 60% to that one, and then we got, what, 6 and change to split up? Or are we making it too complicated?
Can I ask a quick question on the 2 that dropped off? What percentage were they funded at? Do you remember, Porter?
That's a great question. I believe they were relatively high.
What I was thinking too.
I can't quite remember.
I know the Arts Center was high.
Yeah.
Pull up the YouTube and watch ourselves have a meeting during the meeting. That might be a first. I don't know if anyone's ever done that before.
I apologize, I don't have that in front of me.
What is the remaining balance though with
Well,
those?
now I'm seeing I can't actually enter into,
Well, but as far as like being able to calculate the.
yeah, I
the
thought I
numbers.
could, but it'll let me select it, but sorry, everybody, let me stop share. I think I may have a plan here where if I actually open Excel on this computer, it should ask me to log in there. Okay.
Matthew, were you concerned that if the withdrawn applications were ranked high enough that the total amount would be just?
I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud at this point. Honestly, I don't think anything's elevated to the level of a concern just yet.
Okay.
I was just thinking if they were ranked high, if they were 100%ers or whatever, then we should, at a minimum, the next 2 should go ahead and get 100%, right?
Sure.
And that's 1,000 apiece. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's a very clear cutoff in those numbers there.
The top four are
yeah.
clearly the standouts.
Yep.
I wonder if we could even maybe move to a 2-tier, 100%, and then maybe
75s.
we'll see how far the.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good idea if we can.
swing it.
Can't do that in my head, though. I'm trying, but.
All right, let me see if that worked.
Oh, it looks like it did. I'm seeing some. Yeah. So.
All right, hang on, let me share
Right.
this.
And now we can let the computer do our math for us.
Okay, I have thwarted Microsoft. So you're saying 60% here, what does that look like? And that gets us to 60,000.
And is it 69,000? Oh, I'm trying to what the total was.
67,000 is
67.
what you have for the,
So let's go ahead and move with, see what happens if we increase the all top 4 to 100% and see. I mean, obviously that'll leave us with 5,000.
Maybe you go 80 with that next group.
Sure. Where does that put us?
so you have about 4,000, or no, yeah, about 4,000.
If you take the bottom 4 applications and make them all 65%,
I think you can probably go 70.
I'll trust you on that. Let's see.
So that's 64,725.
Do you want to try doing
Oh, but you have one at 61%, which,
is odd. And
Yeah.
I mean, what if all the bottom four, what if they were all 70% based on
what, do you want me to do something with this one in the middle here?
the 61? Yeah, make that one 70 as well. I think the 1% was us just trying to get as close to our,
Yeah, we were just like down to a few $100 or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
all right,
Okay.
let's see if the math's mathing. What,
Oof, 67,389.
that was 70 for the bottom four was Tim's guess on what would get us there. So I want to applaud Tim's math ability. So is that just like a scotch over then? And I can't read a single word of these. I'm
Oh, sorry, yeah.
no, it's okay. I'm incredibly, I have very bad eyesight is all.
So, yeah, I'm guessing, either all these would go to 69%?
What about just drop the last one by $389?
Well, what would that be? Yeah, percent, I mean, I can do that.
Do-
Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Do 67% on that one.
Oh, so close. 66, 66.
Is it under a little bit now? Is that
No, it's just.
Yeah, it's $11.
I'll make it work, so that's just a percentage-wise. So that would then give them 6,000, a little over $6,600.
sure? That
All seems reasonable.
Yeah, it seems like a completely reasonable a percentage as far as making an impact for their ability to carry out their application. Does that? I mean, I feel like, didn't have the rockiest road getting to this conclusion. Does anybody have any issues with this, or does everybody think this seems like a pretty good way forward? I certainly am fine with it.
I feel like it's a great compromise. We added somebody
And
and everybody got more,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
I can't imagine that anybody out of these will complain.
I do feel like I just want to state for the record that we should be really careful with our guidelines in the future, because I do feel really bad for about the two applications that didn't move forward for this
100%,
one.
yeah.
And so just making sure we review our guidelines and have some,
I totally agree.
Synergy between them.
I
Yeah.
think the fact that the TGT process happened first and included wording that, the two were exclusive, to me makes me feel like, in the very least, it could have been clear, but I definitely think it should be clearer.
and I feel like those grant applicants weren't notified that they received those grants until like very recently.
Yeah.
So I feel like the timing is
Yeah.
problematic. So just
And we-
moving forward, I feel like there's a clearer way to
Yeah,
delineate the two grant
I totally agree.
programs.
And it's definitely, if folks aren't aware of having received an award through that process, then of course they should feel free to apply to this grant process. But at the same time, we should definitely try and, we've talked a lot about the timing of these two processes in the past and trying to make sure that, if somebody isn't sure if they're receiving TGT funds through that process, then we don't want them spending their time and energy applying for this if they are
not.
already going to.
If they haven't heard, then they go ahead and apply
So-
for this, and they haven't heard about that other grant
Yeah.
cycle.
Aren't we supposed to have a rep on TGT? And isn't it supposed to be me? I don't think I was involved in that at all.
Yeah, you were.
I was? Did I vote on it?
I have to go back and look, but
Because I do not remember
that happened
at all.
in January.
Oh, God.
Actually, no, it happened in November, December.
Okay, well, that was the flu ago, so.
And that may
Yeah.
have been-
Remember
I don't-
anything.
I don't know the details, but,
this year is-
you were the,
Was I there? Was I the usual
designee.
curmudgeon?
yeah.
Okay.
I think, actually, if I remember correctly, you submitted your scores, but you weren't able to attend the meeting.
Right, okay.
So.
That's why I don't remember. Thank you.
But, yeah.
So I guess let's go ahead and,
Vote on that?
yeah, I will, if
Yeah,
anybody
this
hasn't.
needs to have a vote.
Yeah, if anybody has any further discussion on this, I do think Marla's points are great, and we should definitely revisit this and make sure that the processes line up well and that they are clearly, the guidelines are clear. But unless anybody has any further discussion on this specific recommendation to the City Commission for the community arts grants, I would entertain a motion to reapprove them.
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Matthew. I will now do a roll call vote, starting with Marlo,
Approve.
and then Tim,
Approve.
and then Alicia,
Approve.
and then Matthew.
Approve.
And I shall also approve, reapproving our recommendation to the City Commission for the 2026 Community Arts Grants. So, great. And then we just have the mini grants to also approve. Thank you for joining us. Chris, obviously,
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks for being here. All right, on to the smaller of the grants. Almost all of us submitted scores for the 2026 mini grants. We had a number of applicants. Again, I can't read, but it looks like, I think we had like, was it 12? I'm trying to remember.
10.
10.
10? We do not have 10 mini grants to award. So these will be competitive. Oops.
So, yeah, these are the final scores.
Slide over.
I don't know why I always sit over here with my eyes. It's bad.
Here,
I guess I can make these, it's just tricky on one screen to get to everything, but let me,
Thank you.
here we go.
All right, for the viewers at home, as always, we have our beautiful color-coded system. Blues are standouts in a positive nature. Reds are standouts in a less positive nature. So looks like we've got 2 people at the top who share the honor of standing out from the pack, and then a bunch of folks in the middle, and then 2 at the bottom who are graded significantly lower. And remind everybody, including myself, Porter, do we have 6? Is that how many were?
Yep.
6 $500 grants is what you have allocated for this.
I'd just like to add a comment. As I scored this, one thing that kind of stuck out to me, and I just want to throw it out for the group to consider, there were at least 2 where our grant wasn't going to pull it off, and they were either going to have to raise the money or something.
Sure.
And I kind of feel like that's a little bit, I'd rather see us give grants that are immediately actionable, as personally, because I feel like, then that creates follow-up for Porter, because did they raise the money? What if they don't raise the money? We're giving them money that they might not actually be able to do what they've applied for.
I know that some have indicated that they do have the,
Some of them have indicated that they've already raised
No, it's a
it,
fair point.
but some have said, no, I don't have all of it. And in one case in particular that scored pretty high, it was a considerable amount of money in relation to the grant. It was like, I think 4 times the grant amount.
Do you want to, you said there are 2, do you want to be specific?
Well, the one I remember in particular was Fally's, and I love her, I love her work, but I mean, I think she was talking, something over $2,000 for that rig, and said that she was going to have to host a fundraiser to pull it together. And I'm, I just, when I look at the list as a whole, most of the rest of these people are ready to go. I mean, they're like, if I have this, I can immediately put it to use.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to throw that out there because it stuck out at me as I was scoring. I mean, they're small, they're for equipment. I kind of want to see it working.
You kind of want to see the mini grant just
Go.
completely fund the item, or I think that is definitely worth consideration, and I think that having that consideration also helps the mini grants stand out from the community arts grants as far as like what this really is
for.
about, because I mean obviously the community arts grants very routinely fund a certain percentage of a large vision, and having these be a singular thing that is going to allow someone to level up their artistic practice. So I think that is something I think it's a good point to bring up and something for us to consider. I do agree that obviously we all know Fally.
Yeah.
And I would not, if being concerned about her raising the rest of the funds to make the whole thing come together was something that people were concerned about, I would certainly not bet against her.
Right, I wouldn't either.
I think it's pretty close to certain that she's going to pull off what she's looking to do. But I do think it is something to discuss just with these awards in general.
Well, yeah, now that you mention it, I really like that idea. But my scores don't reflect that idea at all because I didn't think of it until you brought it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
It just, to me, so, and I'll just say, I think Fally's the outlier. Like,
Yeah.
can she raise the money? Yes. But we set then a precedent for other people going forward, where it would be hard for us to say, well, you don't have the money, I mean, then it looks like we're kind of picking and choosing a little bit. And so I feel like, as a philosophical discussion, we kind of have to say kind of one way or the other, either it's actionable or it's not. And that way it levels the field for everybody who's applying, that if they want to apply for it, then they have to have solved that other part of the equation.
I think it can be something. I agree with it that it isn't necessarily reflected in my scores either. I think it could be something as far as what are the hard and fast guidelines for this. I don't know if it needs to be like codified that your application needs to, but I do think that it's something that we can communicate, and even us just discussing it here tonight can help communicate that is what we would like to see, and that if you're going to put forth a mini grant application that is not something like a package done, item or project or something that's going to further your work, that is going to be held against you, and you need extraordinary circumstances to kind of overcome that. Because I do agree that with the other application that I think falls into that category, it did very much for me in my scoring. It did detract from how I agree with that. But,
I do see that. I kind of lost my train of thought.
Welcome to my world.
I feel too that sometimes, like I was reviewing the guidelines again because I was like, thinking about our community arts guidelines and the TGT guidelines, but just thinking that like we're trying to advance people's careers. So like there were some grant applications that I felt like they may be more teaching based versus
Right.
individual artist advancement of their career or emerging artists. I think there was some language about emerging. So I did kind of consider that when I did my scores.
I was going to say, you mentioned the teaching component. So if we look at these and how they are ranked, the top 6, the cutoff directly beneath that is the application for the sewing machines. And that one I feel like had a big teaching component.
It was more of a business.
Yeah.
So I feel like that could be an example of one where just talking about all these different criteria, all these different things that go into the discussion and the review, that's not something that I feel like I wasn't as harsh on that, but hearing you bring it up, I do see how that is a little bit different than the actual stated
The
goal.
ones that tended to grade a little bit higher were the ones that were trying something new.
Yeah.
They were like, if I had this piece of equipment, I could do something new in my craft.
Yeah,
So I thought
or it was a
that
continuation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, there's a clear break in the scores, and I don't think we can really hold that against, for example, Fally in this discussion because we haven't had it, but I think going forward, we need to have that because I think we create a situation for you, right? At the end of the day, we create a situation because it's not fair to give somebody $500 if they don't raise the money and then they have to give it back. And then, we're kind of in a weird position. And so I think, as I look at that, there's a pretty clear break. I also kind of tuned into the teaching element, that felt more business-like than it did, kind of art-wise. So I didn't feel like it was consistent with the theme of what we're doing here. But I would like to see us going forward have some sort of standard for being ready to go.
Yeah, right now, to Marlo's point, the guidelines are, when we started this, somewhat intentionally vague of just equipment, but to take the next step in your career path, so.
So those are the ones I favored.
So those are the
Yeah.
2 guidelines that we have, but it now that this has become a fairly popular, or a very popular and successful program, we need to refine the guidelines for clarity.
I really, obviously coming into this, I didn't know what the full breakdown of the scores would be. And thinking about how other people might interpret different applications, like I'm glad to see that the ergonomic studio equipment is, it's not at the top, but it's pretty high, because for me, a big part of cultivating like a healthy arts community is also just enabling people to could do the work long term and have it be a sustainable thing. And I feel like that really spoke to that.
Health and safety, I remember being in graduate school and that became a hot topic because so many artists were actually killing themselves by not putting caps on their paint cans and stuff like that. So, being aware of how to, extend the health of your art career is a good thing.
I know some people do suffer for art, but it shouldn't be a requirement.
Right.
Well, so it seems like, we can do the easiest thing and say the 6 folks here who are ranked the highest are the recipients. That is an option.
I have no problem with that, but let's really think about next year,
Yes.
making some substantive changes, or at least maybe a little clarity, a little bit more concrete. This is what we're looking for. This is what the grant is for, sort of thing.
Kind of makes me wonder if we shouldn't, form a little subcommittee that its charge is to align all of the programs with the discussions, because we have these discussions and sometimes we have them every year and they don't quite get where we need them to be. Maybe that's something we do a subcommittee for and kind of start to flush it out, because I'd like them to all be consistent.
I love that idea too, and I feel like we kind of got away from that with this new smaller group.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yeah.
with the committees,
True.
and it went from 10 people to 7. So I think we kind of veered away from that subcommittee model, but I think
Yeah.
redoing that specifically for grant guidelines.
Yeah, and I'd love to help, so,
Is this something just from like a board function standpoint? Is this something where it would be like a full subcommittee that exists all the time, or is this something that we could stand up and review the policies and then bring them to the full board and have the board approve changes, and then maybe next year, if there was any sort of issue again, we could stand up that sort of more of like I just know that, Porter, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as like the functions of a board, it's easier to have like an ad hoc task force than a true subcommittee.
Yeah.
If you want to do a formal subcommittee that would be more policy oriented, then that has to get approved by the city commission. But if it's more of a task
Yeah.
committee, which
think
is
that's
an
what
ad
it
hoc
is.
committee.
Yeah.
That's towards
Yeah.
subcommittee.
Right.
Works
Yeah.
under task
Right,
force,
that
so
doesn't,
that way.
Yeah.
you're entrusted with that programmatic level, so I don't think this requires a commission review. And I think they'd also be supportive because it's making sure the grant programs are aligning properly.
All right, I like that idea. We can maybe at the end of the meeting when we're discussing, when the next meeting is, if folks want to volunteer, and we can look at calendars and see when that ad hoc task force might want to meet, or even directly after the mini grant review. Hearing none, if nobody has any other objections, I personally think that just going with the top 6 here is fine. Obviously, the next 2 that are under there, the 7th and the 8th, who are under that cutoff, are still kind of in the same, color coding wise, they have the same color coding as the 2nd through 6th place applications. I definitely would like to say, I like the sewing machine application pretty well, and I hear what you're saying, but I thought it was a good proposal. And obviously the guitar case is also, it's one of those tricky things where, obviously that is an important part of the process. When you look at a guitar versus a guitar case, people are going to say the guitar is the instrument, this is what the artist needs, but you need all that other stuff. So I did want to just throw it out there that both those were great applications, and us not selecting them is not a reflection on that those aren't what we want. Those are still valid. So
yeah, well, and we funded flight cases last year for guitars. Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, I looked at that and I always feel a little bit weird because, okay, we did it one year, we didn't do it the next year. But I think that's just the nature of the kind of the evolving nature of the applications. Some are going to rise higher and they might, have an impact, but agreed.
Yeah, and I guess we'll do it again next year, so maybe, these folks can always come back. Well, unless there's any other discussion, though, about the reviews and how we're going to move forward, it sounds like folks are interested in going to the top 6. So if anybody wants to make a motion on that.
So move.
All right, thank you, Tim. Moving to select the top 6 ranked applicants for the mini grants. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Matthew. I'll now do a roll call vote, starting with Marlo. And then Tim.
Approve.
And then Alicia.
Approve.
And then Matthew.
Approve.
I shall also vote to approve, unanimously passing our recommendation for the 6 recipients of the 2026 mini grant awards.
Sorry, who made the motion? And
I did.
Tim?
And I second.
Yeah, okay.
All right, and we're not done yet, everybody. We have a couple more things on the agenda. Up next, we have discussing the percent for the art policy recommendation from the PRC master plan, which Porter presented to the city commission about just recently.
Yeah, the cultural arts, or the city commission asked for a presentation on, just an update presentation. And with the passing of the acceptance of the PRC master plan, we have a list of recommendations. You all are familiar, we went through those numerous times. And of course, one of them was about the possibility of creating an ordinance based off of the current resolution and a public art plan that goes with that. And the consultant team actually created those 2 things for us. And truthfully, that has not been aired out publicly in a big way because we just haven't gotten to it with some of the changes that have been occurring. So it was a great opportunity to go through the history of the program. The link is on the agenda item. So I did that presentation, and then I talked about the opportunity. And then in my slideshow, I included the idea that it would be appropriate for the city commission to then direct you all to review that, the policy and the public art plan, and make a recommendation back to the city commission as to what you think should happen. Since then, I've been in communication with the city attorney's office. He's reviewing, Zach Fidel is the attorney working on this, and he's reviewing both the ordinance and the policy based on some of the comments the city commission made. So that's in process. And so my recommendation to you all would be to put this on next month's agenda for a presentation specifically for the ordinance and the public art plan, and then discuss that and determine how you want to move forward with that. Not necessarily just on a policy level, but if you want to do any more community engagement or anything along those lines. I know that I did this in 2022, I believe, and Dave Lowenstein wrote a very nice letter that was part of that agenda item about thoughts about how to make it more beneficial to the community. So all those things should be considered, I believe.
What kind of comments did you get from the commission, just out of curiosity?
Mostly it was Mayor Finkeldye who was just concerned about some of the language in the ordinance and clarity. These things are tricky because when, currently the CIP is a broad stroke. So it's all the CIP. I'm supposed to go in and figure out eligible projects, calculate the 2% as we've done historically, bring that back to you all for your recommendation. Now the board and commission responsibilities have shifted a little bit, so it's less clear on that. Because it's a resolution, it's often not implemented. It doesn't make the CIP cut. The CIP is also handled more heartily internally as far as infrastructure projects and that type of thing, and the art just doesn't score very well. So changes to our process have affected this as well. And that's just the nature of, policy change and evolution of systems here. But the ordinance then takes the general concept of the initial resolution, puts it into either general fund CIP funding or general obligation bond funding. Therein lies another rub. When you have general obligation bond funding, you have very strict restrictions on how that money can be spent. The broad stroke is that it is brick and mortar. So you can't pay for programs. You can't, I totally agree. We should do education. We should do that requires staffing. That's just that opens a whole nother kettle of fish, so to speak. And that's just something for awareness, is that the money is very well restricted, and so you just, certain things you can't spend it on. I believe the consultant team did a really good job of articulating that in both the ordinance and the public art plan for clarity. And that protects the city's bond rating, which of course is very, very important. So anyway, that's the kind of thing that we can discuss a little more in April. I've also reached out to the consultant team, because I'd love to have them join, somebody from that team join us to speak to a lot of these things, because they did a great job in creating all this. So just everybody getting fully up to speed on what is this, how was it created, how did we get here, and then determining what steps you want to take to move forward.
Sure. Well, I certainly have no objections. All of the discussions we've had around the PRC master plan in the past, and especially talking about turning the resolution into an ordinance, I feel like it is something that I'm very confident will have a huge positive impact. So I think we should go ahead and discuss it at our next meeting. And I mean, I think having somebody from the consulting
Designing
group.
Local was the name of the firm.
Yeah, so having someone join us would be great. I think, considering, I think there's been a decent amount of public input on the process that they led. I feel like that was something they did a good job with. So I think we can look back at some of that. But yeah, unless anybody's firmly against it, I think I don't know. I don't know what else we have on our agenda for April, but maybe that'll be the main thing.
So we're reviewing these documents that are here in the agenda?
Those are the documents that were presented at last Tuesday's meeting. Those are what has gone up to the city attorney's office. So I don't anticipate any significant change, but just for awareness, these are still very much draft and not, ready to go.
And any changes that are recommended by the city's attorney, we can compare and contrast this version versus that at the.
We'll have
next meeting.
markup on that. Really
Yeah.
was very minimal.
All right, neat. Well, we don't have to vote on that, but thank you, for making that
On
presentation.
the April agenda is basically a study session type item, and then you all can
Okay.
go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent, thank
And then
you.
we have one last item on our agenda, which is the UPAE update, which is the Unmistakable Public Art Exhibition. And we have I believe Porter is bringing up maybe a PDF with pictures of the
Oh,
UPAE.
it's on the agenda, sorry.
The artworks that were selected for our World Cup themed Unmistakable Public Art Exhibition. And we can talk about that a little bit. I believe we're going to touch on the where component of the.
I have on your agenda item a link to the artworks. I don't know why my Outlook, the computer demons are in
seems
full,
like they're acting-
gremlins, I
yeah.
should say. Gremlins
They're
are
really acting
full
up
swing
tonight.
here tonight, so bear with me a second. Let me get this back up. Oh my goodness, and it's going really, really slow. So we have the selected artworks, and what I'm just now starting to get earnestly on top of is location. And so I just wanted to, this is purely conversational, but I wanted to get your feedback and maybe some assistance. Okay, here we go again, and I go down to the bottom, and I click on this, and I need to share this. So, the first one we have here is Alicia's. And Alicia, maybe you can just shed some light on where you stand. I think you maybe have a location?
Yeah, so hopefully you all can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, I have I'm going to do two different window displays in two different locations that I have secured. Right now I have the Roost as an existing business. So they're going to let me do this design that I have presented here. That's kind of the soccer ball template kind of deconstructed. So that will be on their window with, I'll also have some of these paper soccer balls made as well as printed out. So people, when they go into the Roost, kids can put these together and it can kind of be interactive. Maybe hanging, I don't know, I'm still in the design, but they are in. And then my second location that I have just recently secured and meeting with next week to kind of get the design elements done is the old visitor center, 812 Mass, which I think there's going to be something going on, I'm not exactly sure, inside of that space for World Cup madness as well. It'll be art related, gallery, I'm not exactly sure, so I will be also doing the windows for that business as well.
Great.
So that's my updates on space. If you all have questions, let me know. I don't have a design for that one yet. Both of them are still kind of in process.
That's great, thank you. I was pretty sure you had something, but getting a little clarity is helpful for me, so thank you on that.
This is Daniel, Alicia. I wanted to ask, with those 2 locations, do you feel like that's your goal, or are you still looking for other locations as well? Is two the?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, is that your desired amount of locations?
Yeah, 2 was kind of, I believe when I wrote the proposal, I said 2 as like kind of what I was going for. I was definitely hoping for 2. There's a part of me that if it was 1, I wanted it to be bigger or something that expanded. And so I feel good with 2. I hope in this being 2 different designs, one that I'm kind of another, I just don't want the same design. I mean, I could connect it, but I think it'll still be in my work likeness, and I can definitely run that all by you if that's all something you would like to see as well.
All right, thank you.
So the next one is Randall Warren. This is a piece in his yard that he uses as an example. And let me go in here and pull up. He actually created a rendering. So he and I talked, and initially I was thinking that the Library Plaza might be an interesting place because this is a fairly large-scale sculpture, and you have to position it carefully because you don't want people bumping into it, that type of thing. So a larger plaza area seemed good. This location looked good. I'm also thinking, I know there's discussion about having a section of 8th Street blocked off during World Cup, so I thought, would this work in something like that? I'm concerned that that's getting squeezed between the alley and Vermont, and that's pretty tight.
Yeah.
So then I also spoke with somebody with transit who reminded me that if you come from Kansas City, you go to the transit hub, then you get on a bus from the transit hub and you go straight to the library location. So this would be the first thing you'd see from that perspective. And that's what I was going for, is that effect of, oh, okay, they're really celebrating this. So this still stands for me as a great option. I haven't spoken to the library or anything. This is all still very much in the planning process, but that was, where we landed with this piece for now. He's very excited about this sculpture, so.
I love that idea, just because knowing what the library is doing for World Cup and having that location, they have the flags up, they're going to do a lot of community engagement in that area. That feels like an ideal location.
Okay.
For that piece.
That's good to hear.
This is tangential, but what was the timeline for TK's mural process at the library?
So the goal is to get it done before World Cup. And it was approved by the city commission last night.
Yeah.
So he's good to go, and I know he's raring to go, and he's working with Brad at parking, so.
I do like the idea that this in front of the library would be sort of like a welcoming, people like arriving, and have that be sort of the first thing they see. So I think it seems great to me.
Yeah, and I hadn't thought of that, but thinking this fully through, TK could even coordinate some kind of, artist talks or something while that's happening during busy days or something, if you wanted to do that, which I think visitors from other countries would be very interested in that. So, okay, well, that's great. Thank you. That's very helpful. Others, let's see, Javi's. Obviously, we have a good sense of what he's doing here, although this will be in a freestanding situation. But open to, I have thoughts. We certainly have locations en masse that could be done easily, that there have been other pieces there, but I didn't know if anybody had any other thoughts about that.
I do see, I mean, with the freestanding nature and just the design of the piece, mass is what kind of like makes sense, like to me, as far as how people are going to engage with the piece. That would be one of the existing infrastructure spots, one of the.
Yeah, the place that I'm thinking, or places, are where benches used to be, and they've taken those out, and so there's like at least 3 or 4 of those opportunities. So, and that puts it in the thick of things, but it also keeps it out of the mainstream traffic, so to speak, so. And it would be so colorful, I mean, it'd just be a real nice impacted visual color, and knowing
But
Javi's
watch
work.
parties, I'm thinking
Right.
of like, having that color available.
Yeah, okay. And then this one is unique. I've reached out to Tim I'd want to discuss this. I think it's fabulous. We just need to work out details. So he's getting grant money to do something along these lines. I'm not crystal clear on what he can produce for the money we're giving him, whether this needs to have some sort of commercial component to it. And I've also reached out to Explore Lawrence just so they're aware of this, because I know they're looking at having a visitor center just during World Cup, and maybe this is something that they could be involved in merchandising or something. But there's some legal ramifications of that we have to think about as well.
One other thing with this proposal that I might have even brought up when we were reviewing them is the idea that because this is so sort of like the items, the designed items are the main focus of this. I mean, to me, it really evokes, when you're, not that I ever go to any sporting arena, but when you see sporting happening in movies and stuff. So I mean, with a lot of these items, you see large scale, billboards and pictures of athletes, and there's like all these like recognizable items, the jerseys, the soccer balls with the patterning and stuff. And I wonder if there'd be some opportunities to maybe find locations to almost put up like some advertisements for these designs, some large scale renderings of them to sort of tie into the actual the items.
You mean like actually get like a soccer player dressed in one of the jerseys?
Yeah.
Like in an action shot?
Yeah, and sort of, that's just something that I think would be, as far as like how do we like take this and really like get it out in public. So.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of opportunity here. It's a matter of navigating all those waters, but no, I think you're spot on. And it seems to me that Tim probably has a lot of expertise in this area, so.
And obviously, if there is a World Cup visitor center, that would be a great place to house a lot of that.
I know that if I was traveling to Europe for World Cup and I saw one of these or one of these or one of these, that would, knowing that it's really unique to where I am, that would be intriguing to me, so. Then Nathan Pierce, I think we landed on this one. Or no, this one may not be available. I can't remember, sorry. One of these wasn't available.
Tomorrow's scope is not available.
Oh, thank you, I wrote it down. Thank you. Sometimes I'm smart enough to make notes on things. Justura, so this one. And I actually talked to Nathan and explained that, we were asking for new work, and so he's reworking this a little bit as well. Obviously, freestanding sculpture, his current piece is right out here at 6th Street. That's a great location, actually gets a lot of visibility, so that would be a possibility. And I would be open to other thoughts if anybody had any strong opinions.
Sorry, what was the location again?
There's a pad right out literally directly across the
Right across.
street, and it's in that garden area. The one he has out there now is smaller than this one.
The
It's on
blue.
a pedestal, yeah. So that's fairly straightforward and goes back to, outdoor downtown sculpture exhibition type thinking. So that could be placed on any of our existing pads potentially. And this one, Gary Mark Smith, he has these remarkable, which is so relevant of the, how, learning how Algeria, how soccer is very much part of their independence. And the fact that these young kids in the Congo, are playing soccer on the street is really beautiful. And he has these photos. He and I have been talking a little bit, we're thinking of window spaces, that type of thing, but there's limitations on those, and some of the windows I've been looking at, unless it was some sort of lighting, it wouldn't be great. So I had a crazy thought. Some of you will remember, I can't remember the name of the project, but where we took portraits of Lawrence people.
Inside Out.
Inside Out,
Yeah.
thank you. When I first came here, that was up, and if I remember correctly, there was a, what do you call it when you use paper and paste?
Like a wheat paste?
A wheat paste poster here effectively of images like that. And I thought, this is a really visible wall. Unfortunately, Google photographed it in the winter. But I don't know who to contact at US Bank. So I didn't know if anybody had thoughts on, is that a good idea? Or are there other walls where a wheat paste approach might be effective? So very open to thoughts on this one.
My only thought on that is that building is sold.
Yeah.
I don't know who the new owner is, but I do know that they are, I believe, removing many of the tenants
Oh, okay.
to renovate or do whatever they're gonna do with it. So I think you probably need to check into that a little bit just to figure out what's.
Well, and there's nothing, that says it has to be here. It's just my thought. The other thing is to consider, not just this piece, but are there other, is everything, it makes sense to put things downtown because that's where the concentration of people will be. But, I'm open to other possibilities as well.
What about that cool area by the Eldridge? I know that we've done some stuff at the Art Center with that, projecting on that space. They have that outdoor, it's almost like an empty lot.
Yeah,
between the
yeah,
Eldridge
yeah.
and
It is an
7th.
empty lot, yeah.
But
Oh,
like
yeah,
there's
yeah,
that
so on the wall.
Yeah, could that be a wheat paste opportunity?
I like the idea of doing wheat paste. I also do, you mentioned projection. I think there could be some projection as well.
Yeah, projection could be really cool because then you just need a white surface to really project on.
You just need the tech, and it doesn't get dark till 9 o'clock at night. In
Yeah.
the summertime, so that's like one thing that we run into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I do know that wall, because I love that wall as well, you have to ask the owners of Eldridge and 715 to get their approval, FYI.
Yeah.
Well, and this would be temporary, so I would think that would be
Easier.
more
I think
palatable.
trying to do, this kind of goes back to what I was saying about kind of almost like the ad campaign approach with the wearable items. The idea of trying to take these images and some of these designed items and take representations of them, or whether it's wheat paste or projections or posters, and try and really have it be pretty diffuse throughout the community. To me, I think that would be great. Having it centralized in downtown is obviously always nice because that is such a high traffic area, but trying to find locations just throughout the city that could play host to either a large scale wheat paste or a projection, technology withstanding.
That's a really good point. It doesn't have to be set up in an array like this.
Right.
This is one way to do it, but you could actually make fairly large-scale images that could be wheat pasted onto walls or windows, or, there's a lot of opportunity that way.
Wouldn't it be cool if you could, well, I think it would be cool. I shouldn't put that on you guys. If you could do a series of posts, remember how we used to put the things on the poles, the little banners?
Yeah.
And, you could do a banner of a jersey, you could do a banner of, you could have a series of those that are on poles all over. Probably impossible.
No, I love the idea. The challenge I know is that with the 250th anniversary and World Cup and all of our fabulous events that happen in June, we're not going to have, one, it would just be visually overwhelming, I think, to try to add that in. But no, it's a brilliant idea. It really is. And
Yeah, and
that could be something we do. The thing I'm thinking is that we commissioned this for World Cup, but it is still part of that annual exhibition. So maybe there's an opportunity after the fact, if he has budget, to actually do some of that too. That's interesting. So it's not a bad idea, it's just a matter of trying to accommodate everybody.
And I do just like that idea. It's not like you go to a specific location to see the artwork. I mean, there might be a main location where they're featured, but that there'd be things that as you're traveling around the community, you might encounter, a series of wheat paste or whatever it is. So obviously that's it's a tall order for you to figure out the coordination there. I will say wheat paste, it is temporary technically,
Right.
but removal isn't always.
On glass, it's easier because you just scrape it off with
Yeah.
a razor blade. On walls, it's a little trickier.
It's too bad that you don't have like really big windows where you could do these almost as some sort of a wrap that still allows light in, you know? And you could have just a series of them across the downtown area. You know, it'd have to be, obviously you'd have to get a business that would agree that doesn't depend upon, you know, people window shopping, right?
Right.
But it would be, I mean, especially this part would be really cool if you had like 10 of those in a series scattered across the blocks of downtown.
Yeah.
Might be too much, right? But it just lends itself well to that kind of a medium.
No, this is great. Thank you. It just helps me to, hear other thoughts and ideas on this. So I need to get back with these artists and continue these conversations.
Speaking about continuing conversations, so this is the last item on our agenda. I did want to say, obviously, we have our beloved miscellany section. It is at 8:36, we're a little bit over. If folks wanted to try to self-nominate and try and come up with a time between now and our next meeting to stand up an ad hoc task force to discuss some of these adjustments to guidelines and how we approach our granting. I think this could be a good opportunity to do that.
Do we need to do it before the next meeting, or?
Not necessarily.
Since
I
we've
think-
already doled out the grants?
No, I guess we really wouldn't have to wait until, we could do it whenever between now and
I think
next
next
cycle, but-
meeting would be okay and probably good to get it, because it will take, if we do it during the meeting process, it takes, 1 month at a time. So to get it really set up when we start all this process in the fall, late summer, early fall, that'd be great.
You think having the ad hoc group meet between now and April?
No, I'm thinking we could put this on the April agenda more formally.
All right.
And then we have
I
more
like
folks
that.
and stuff and go
That's
with
good.
that. And maybe even a new commissioner
Ooh.
by then.
All right. Well, unless anybody has any objections to that plan, we'll discuss the ad hoc task force at the next meeting. I will mention now that our next meeting is going to be April 8th, 2026, in case there's any confusion about that. But unless anybody has anything else to discuss on any of the previous items, we have a little bit of time where we can do miscellany. Any things that you're excited about that you want to plug? Any cool cultural, artistic things that you've experienced recently that you want to gush about? This is the time for that.
There's some great stuff coming up in April.
Oh,
So
yeah.
April 9th, we're going to do a opening of the Hang 12, and Alicia can talk more about this, of the Hang 12 parking garage right across from the Art Center. Mona Cliff is going to talk about public art. And then we're going to unveil the Hang 12 across from every other parking stall in the main level across from the Art Center. There'll be native plants and native animals created by the Hang 12 kids. And so that's going to be a really cool Red Ribbon event at 5 o'clock on April 9th. And it's a city and statewide partnership. And then April 11th is the art auction. And so we're celebrating the work of Kristen Moreland. And so it's going to be an incredible art auction this year. We're encouraging everybody to wear sequins and sparkly and shimmering outfits that catch the light because her work is so sparkly and amazing. So
When does the gallery open?
this Friday.
Okay.
Yes, so it's going to be incredible. That's an amazing, over 150 artists from around the country and even internationally as well.
We'll have our next art opening actually, so on the 10th.
Oh, cool.
So 9th,
Good time.
10th, 11th. Yeah, and that's actually going to be the Art Guild all-member show.
Sweet. That's all.
So we actually doubled up our display capabilities because they have so many people.
Friday the 10th.
5 to 7.
All right, well, I am adding those to my calendar. Hopefully I'll see you all there. But it sounds like there might not be any other miscellany to address.
I'll actually just thought of something. So, Parks, Recreation, and Culture has a float, not a float, but a vehicle that we always have in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. So we'll be doing that and handing out trees. And we're going to have candy, because you have to have candy, and little soccer balls. So come see us. You can walk with us in the parade. There'll be a whole crew of people out there, and it's usually a fun time. Apparently, it's not going to be as warm as it was last year. But, so look for us in the parade.
I don't think I've ever taken you up on the offer to walk in the parade with y'all, but this year I'll do it.
It's always, and you know, the fun thing is when you walk in a parade, doesn't really matter where you're walking. It's just fun to be in the
Can
parade.
you throw the candy though? I'm trying to remember what the
You can't
rules are.
throw it.
You can hand it.
You can hand
Can't-
it.
can't
So
throw
yeah, we don't want to be pelting anybody.
Can you throw the soccer balls?
That's the question.
We all regret that you can't, but, because there will be soft little squishy soccer balls. But again, no throwing of anything, so be prepared not to throw anything.
Will you be dressed as a leprechaun or
In
anything interesting
a
like that?
sort of improvising way, we all have green shirts that coincidentally have a soccer ball on the front, so it'll be fun.
Is that Tuesday?
I think it is Tuesday.
17th, yeah.
Yes.
I'm having trouble with time this month.
All right, well, hearing then, if there's no further miscellany or things to plug, as always, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Can I get a second?
One second.
Thank you, Matthew. I feel like we've been consistent with the Tim, Matthew first.
Well, it's been working.
Yeah, if it works, don't complain. I will do a roll call vote starting with Marlo, and then Tim,
Approve.
and then Alicia,
Approved.
and then Matthew.
Approve.
And I also approve adjourning this meeting of Lawrence's Cultural Arts Commission. Thank you, everybody, for being here and volunteering your time. Thank you to Porter, of course. Thank you to Kurt over in the corner for making everything work. Thank you for everyone who joined us virtually now or in the future, all of our fans on YouTube. We'll see you next month, April 8th.
Busy week.
Thanks, everybody. See you, Alicia.
8th, 9th, 10th, 11th.
It was good.